Wow, this is Steve Donahue with us. This is the person who can pass Sahara Desert. This is the person who works with 500 huge organizations and make people happy to work. It's strange because normally people don't like to work. But if you work with Steve Donahue, you will like it. He's an author and he is my hero. Dear Steve, thank you for coming from Canada.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Olga.
Dear Steve, my first question to you. You were traveling in the desert, which is not the easiest place to be. I'm living in Dubai for 20 years, plus 45. You are sticky. I don't know. I was now shooting movie in the desert, and my hero after 5 hours said, "Oh, I'm a star. It's very difficult for me to be here." You were in this desert. You were conquering the desert. What does it give you?
Well, when I first crossed the Sahara Desert, I was 20 years old. So I was really a young man. I mean, I didn't know I was doing this at the time, but I think I was trying to kind of test myself, to see what I was capable of, to see if if I had what it takes to succeed in the world. And, um, you know, it was almost like a form of initiation, right, into adulthood. And so, I mean, I have to be honest with you, it wasn't a smart thing to do. We weren't really prepared. We were 20 years old, right? And, when you're sometimes that young, you do things that aren't really that intelligent. But I grew up a lot. I would say that, yeah, that is the moment where I kind of stepped into my life as an adult, um, because I realized I could do something, beyond what I perceived as my capabilities.
Steve, what was there that was the most difficult for you? The lack of water, or the heat, or the scorpion, or in general, the atmosphere, or that you were not in the house with your mama and papa? What was the most difficult?
The most difficult was the fear of getting lost. So in the Sahara, when you get lost, and you can be lost by maybe a kilometer, it doesn't take a lot. You get lost, you lose your way. Well, the first thing that happens is you worry about water, because you can die of dehydration in as little as 12 hours in the Sahara Desert. And that's your biggest fear is where are we? Which way do we go? How do we not get lost? How do we not get stuck? Getting stuck is probably the second biggest danger. And I think that it's the mental stress. I mean, to be honest, Olga, I never really remembered suffering from the heat, oddly enough. I remember fearing the cold. The cold at night was something we were not prepared for. It was bone-chilling cold because we traveled in January, which is the time you want to go, right? Because the daytimes are not as hot. But it was almost more like the battle was an inner battle more than the external battle. And fear and uncertainty were the things we battled.
How many days you stay there, Steve?
Well, so I kept a journal, and the notes are a little bit sketchy, but we left. The journey begins in Paris. So it's me, my friend Talus, and two Frenchmen, Andre and Henri. And so our goal for Talus and I had a goal, a very specific goal, to spend the winter on a beach in West Africa. That was the whole reason we crossed it. This was not a noble quest. It was just...
Yes, that is very strange. You can take an airplane and go directly to the beach without conquering desert Sahara.
Well, you could now, and I could now, but then we were poor. We were young people. We had saved money. We wanted to spend a year in Europe or Africa. We didn't care really. And so the goal was to spend this winter on the beach, and so we left Paris and we made it to the beach about 6 weeks later. And I would say we were in the desert itself for about a month.
Did you lose your weight? How did you change for this month?
Well, one of the things that I mean, I was a good student. I tested well. I got perfect grades, and I thought I was pretty smart. But I realized that there's two kinds of wisdom, and there's the kind that you acquire from a book or from maybe just listening to a podcast, online. There's a lot of knowledge out there, but the other kind is an acquired wisdom that happens through experience. And I realized that the people of the desert had that acquired wisdom. They actually were not afraid. They did not suffer from that concern about uncertainty. They they did not get lost because they had grown up in that world. And I realized that the knowledge of people who've been through something, who understand the terrain, if you will, whether that's the terrain of running a small business or the terrain of the largest desert in the world, that it's experience that matters in terms of how you acquire knowledge. You want it from people who have actually experienced the thing you're trying to understand, more so than those who've simply studied it.
Oh, that goes without saying. That's very often, in Russian universities, when professors teach business guys, they say we don't want to listen to you because your shoes are not expensive. We understand
Oh.
that you never earned money because my shoes and my car and my house, and that's difficult, I know, but when I tell them it's rude because I was a diplomat before and I was taught it's not polite to say this to adult people because you hurt them. They say, Olga, but these people, they know nothing. Their salary, let's say $3,000, and I want to earn $3 million a month. How can that person teach me if he's not ambitious as me? And that's, of course, it's a big collision because these professors, maybe they're intellectual, maybe they're more philosophic people, but they don't have practical things like in the desert. You will just simply die if you don't know what to do at night. I understand perfectly what you're saying, Steve.
Yeah, and there's no. Well, I don't want to say there's no second chances. I mean, we had some close calls, but it's a harsh teacher, and life can be as well. And running a small business, for example, it's people will start a business, they'll put all of their savings, they'll borrow money from the bank or from relatives, and there's not going to be a second chance, right? If your business does not succeed, you won't be able to go back to the bank or go back to your family because you had your chance. And so, you know, the speech I've been giving for many years around the world really is about how life is like the journey across the Sahara Desert. The terrain is shifting and it's changing. I mean, in the Sahara, you can literally go to sleep and wake up the next morning, and the terrain is completely changed, like from the sand shifting. And life can happen like that too, right? I mean, imagine businesses how they've had to cope with COVID because overnight everything changed and there was no preparation for that. And so,
Until now, because while we're talking, they said there is new virus, Micron or whatever the name, and we were thinking, halas, we did it, we get injection, it's
right,
finished. And they say,
yeah,
no, 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 no,
not done.
no. You think it's finished, but it's not finished. And from the beginning. And of course, a lot of people, they lose desist. They lost the desire to live because they say, how I can live if tomorrow it's again changed. So it's the fear that is with the people. Tell me, please, I want to ask you the question. Now a lot of people are working online, and my
Yeah.
team is now also online. I have people from Moscow, from Dubai, from Kazakhstan, and we
Wow.
working online. It's very difficult because we cannot meet, we cannot grab coffee, we cannot touch each other on the shoulder.
Yeah.
It's how to make the team work. You are the guru of making team together and make great performance. Is it possible to do it virtually, or you think it's almost impossible?
No, it's not impossible. It's different. And in some ways it's easier. I think we're still figuring it out, right? But the fundamentals haven't changed. Um, Part of the problem is I'll compare it to giving a speech in person to a virtual presentation, because before COVID, I would go everywhere. I've been to Dubai. I would go to Asia.
By the way, Dubai is welcoming you again because all the events live are open in Dubai.
They're
So
now open. Oh, well, there you go.
you're most welcome. There are a lot of events devoted to 2020, a lot of conferences. So welcome
Oh,
back.
good. Well, okay. I expect the phone to start ringing.
Yes.
So, but the comparison I wanted to make is that when you are in a room with an audience and they're there with you, it's a completely different experience from when you are speaking to them virtually, because something is lost, that sort of personal connection. Like, you mentioned maybe touching someone on the shoulder. It's not even touching, because of course as a speaker you would literally touch them, but you would touch their hearts. There would be something about being there in person that we've lost and we relied on. And this, the comfort of just being in the same office with your colleagues and just turning, at any moment and making a joke and turning back to your work, and you'd hear
Absolutely,
them.
yes.
We've lost that.
Yeah.
So what replaces it? And so in a way it can be a very good thing, because in the big picture of things, and how organizations really, really succeed, is there's a few things that they have going for them. And they actually compare very well to what we did in the Sahara Desert. And the first is that what I call a quest. So a quest, if you imagine, talk about heroes. This is called the Hidden Hero podcast. Heroes are always on a quest. They're trying to achieve something extremely important, and they want it more than anything else in the world. And so it's a silly example, but we literally were on a quest to spend the winter on a beach. And we were 20 and we were single, and we thought there'd be other young people there. But that quest, we wanted that so much that we were prepared to cross the largest desert in the world. And so what I think is lost often in workplaces, and especially when we lose the interconnection of being together personally in the same room, is we lose you know that shared purpose. Why are we all doing this together? Of course we need a job, and of course we need a paycheck. I mean, people have to eat and people have to pay their rent. But what is it that we really want to do in the world? And how do we make that? How does every day feel like we moved the needle a little bit? We got a little bit further across our own desert. And
So,
so,
Steve, you mean
yeah,
that about shared value, and as you say, that people are paid salaries, but maybe after 3, 4 months they get used to these salaries, and salaries is not motivation anymore. That means, let's say, if the owner of the company is getting millions, and the employees are not sharing values with them, they're only angry. Why this guy is riding Ferrari and I'm riding Volkswagen, and my
mm,
Volkswagen is always broken because not enough petrol. So maybe they're only angry with you. How to make the people, where to take motivation?
sure. So motivation is, and you were very accurate there, Olga, because you talked about it's, of course, money. I mean, everyone wants money. You can always give people more money. But what happens with money is people feel valued, right? So, so money is a form of communication in many ways. We express how we value someone by being able to pay them what they're worth, and show them that they matter to the organization. And so we talk about these differences between internal and external motivations. And internal motivation is what makes me want to get up every day and go and do the best job that I can do. And it's often more than the money. I mean, if you're not paying people what they're worth, if you're not paying them as much as what they would make somewhere else doing a similar work, you've got a problem. And the problem is right in your face. They do need a fair wage, a living wage. But beyond that, I mean, some of the most unhappy people in companies, large companies, are the ones who actually make the most money, because
Yes.
there's not something that they want, that they really are after. And I'll often talk with my clients about the difference between needing and wanting. And, we all need money. Like, come on, how do we survive without it? But what do you want? What is it that when you wake up in the morning you really want? And for some people, and it can really vary. And so, I urge my clients, leaders within organizations, to talk to their employees, their team, about what do you want? What is the thing
Let's
that's
say
not money?
if there is 2,000 people working for us, their wants are different. Let's say we are the distributor of Renault. This is a French car. People who are selling the cars, they are the selling people, people that are working in the marketing, they're different people, who are bookkeepers, they're different, who are owners, they're different. You recommend to combine all these four groups together and ask what do you want, or you need to ask every group separately?
Okay, there's two ways you can do it. And so some organizations will establish their own noble quest, their own reason for being. And if it's the right kind of organization and the kind of work you're doing is so important, you can get everyone to buy in. Like I've worked for many years with a pharmaceutical company who are on a quest to end cancer. That's it. 2 words. It's not hard to remember. And even the person who drives the truck to pick up the supplies and bring them back to the manufacturing facility, he or she thinks, I'm helping to end cancer. I know someone. My cousin had cancer. I mean, it's very personal. Now, your example of a car manufacturer may not quite have that same thing. So what you need to do is you need to establish both that organizational quest. Here's what we stand for. Yes, of course, we're trying to make money, but we believe something else. If you were a manufacturer right now and you were talking about electric vehicles, you could probably get people excited about that. But then you have to ask each person, why are you on this journey? A good example, are you familiar with this American movie called The Wizard of Oz? So
Yes,
in
of
this
course.
movie, yeah, so in this movie, they're all on the same quest. They want to see the wizard and they sing a
Yes.
song. We're off to see the wizard. This is their song. And yet, each one of them is on that journey for their own reason. The scarecrow wants a brain. The lion wants courage. And so you as leaders need to talk
And the
with
girl
your
wants to
staff.
go back to Kansas.
Yeah, and Dorothy
Yes,
wants to get to Kansas. I'm not sure what the dog wants, but you
yes.
see, it's actually a very beautiful model. And one of the largest accounting firms in the world, KPMG, used this model where they established this overall organizational quest, but then they asked each person, how do you feel like you are on a mission that matters? And they had phenomenal results. They had never been the number one company, accounting firm in the world. And within months, they became number one.
This
It
is
was
you, Steve, who gave this recommendation to make a quest for them?
No, no, I did not, and I don't know if they use that word, but I've spoken with senior leaders there, and in a sense, this is what they did. They simply said, "We've got to find something that people want to do, a reason why their work feels meaningful." And they had it's in the Harvard Business Review. You can read the article about KPMG. It was a few years ago. And they had phenomenal results because they tried to imagine themselves as being heroes in a story, and it was incredible.
What about when you were passing the Sahara? You mean the quest for you, because all of you were, even you were all young, but definitely you were all different. For you, it was the same mission, just to be alive and to reach the beach, yes?
Yeah. So there was 4 of us, and my friend and I. That was our goal, to make it to the beach. But the 2 Frenchmen, they had their own unique reasons. Andre was actually a little bit older. He turned 50 years old while we were on the journey, and Andre wanted to visit Timbuktu. It had been a life dream, and I didn't even know it was a real place. So he said, "I'm going to Timbuktu." I thought he was a bit crazy. I said, "Well, there's no such. There is, and it's just the other side of the Sahara Desert if you're coming from north to south." And the other young Frenchman, Henri, he he had a dream to work in the oil industry in Central Africa, and he actually had a job offer that he was trying to get to so that he could achieve that dream. So we all had, well, between the 4 of us, we had 3 different reasons to be on that journey, but yet we could
So you
travel
mean that
together.
you can even cross Sahara Desert if you are with the team of people who have the same value. Because I believe that you help each other. Maybe if you will be alone, you will not be able to survive, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Because and that comes back to your original question about making helping people feel like they are a team. Because when you're in the desert, you realize very quickly that you might actually die if you don't work together. I mean, you need each other that much. And in fact, the younger Frenchman Henri, at one point he does get very sick, and we thought we were going to lose him. And it was a very, very difficult, frightening time. Fortunately, he recovered. But when you work virtually with people, I think what you need to do is you need to find ways to make it clear how people are needing each other, how someone's job cannot happen without the assistance of this person or that person. And you have to talk about it, and you have to acknowledge that, because that's something that people value. That's not a financial gain, but it's a sense of being needed and actually contributing to success.
Absolutely, Steve. And I think, nowadays for New Year, we take a very, very small orphanage. It's only 30 people, very, very tiny. And we bought from them, as if bought toys.
Okay.
Small toys, because they are manufacturing them. And I never expect that this simple thing that cost almost nothing make all the people in the company happy, because they feel we know what we are working for. Thanks God, because we earn a lot, we can afford buy something from the orphanage. So really, I think that sometimes small things that we can do it shouldn't be that, okay, to conquer Sahara is very difficult. You should be fit. You should be smart. You're Superman. You should do a lot of things. I will not recommend now all our audience go and cross Sahara to know how the team is working, because maybe they will not survive. Maybe they will die. Maybe they will know how the team is working, but they will not come back. So maybe it's not a good advice, But
Right.
to read your book, Follow Your Compass, by Steve Donahue, maybe it's a good idea. Is any answers, my last question to you, Steve, Follow Your Compass. Can we find some tips there in this book?
So Follow Your Compass, I've written 2 books. The first book is called Shifting Sands. And Shifting Sands is the book that actually describes my journey across the Sahara Desert. And it talks about what I call the rules of desert travel. And one of them is follow your compass. So in the Sahara Desert, it's changed now because I did this many years ago. But when I did it, there was a road, but the road only went a short distance and then it ended. And at that point, you need a compass because your maps don't work anymore. And so in life, and especially in business, a map is that plan. You have a very clear plan, a very clear goal, which is great. But sometimes those maps don't work, such as when something like COVID comes along. And so the compass is the thing that guides you even when the terrain is shifting. And so that could be your values, that could be your mission, or what I call a quest. Something has to pull you forward, even though you're following a new road, right? A road that has disappeared completely because of the change. And I would suggest that organizations and businesses who've done well since all of the changes we've been experiencing lately are businesses that had a compass, had an internal guiding point, a desire, something they wanted, some values that mattered, that have taken them forward and are leading them towards success even during such difficult times.
I will be very interested, Steve, to invite you to Kazakhstan to make a speech and to tell people how to follow your compass, shift sands. Believe it or not, you can shift sands in Sahara, and also to Dubai, because I think it's very interesting, very useful. You did it. That means we can also do it. We are not worse than you. So I think it will be very,
sure.
very interesting for everybody. Thank you for your positive mood, because not everybody, especially for famous speaker, author, these are creative people who are sharing their philosophy and their heart. And we need to protect these people, because for them, it's even more difficult times. They are energizing from the stage, from people, from applauds, That's what is energy coming. And I would like to say bravo for you to stay in that spirit. And I hope to see you in Dubai or in Kazakhstan. Thank you for
I would love
being.
that.
Merci beaucoup.
And je vous en prie.